If you thought Grey's Anatomy had finally eased up on Joe Wilson, Season 22, Episode 8 proves it absolutely has not. Because just when Joe finally gets her miracle, just when she's holding her babies, breathing again, believing she survived the impossible, Grey's drops a stop sign right in front of her happiness. And no, this isn't just about medical complications. This episode is about fear, about control, about what happens when a doctor becomes a patient and realizes she might never feel safe again. From the very first moments, this episode plays like a ticking clock wrapped in a lullaby. Joe is no longer fighting for her life, but she's not free either. She's in the NICU. She's surrounded by beeping machines. And even though her babies are alive, Peyton and Hattie, names that already feel heavy with meaning, Joe can't turn her doctor brain off. Not for a second. And that's the twist. Because the danger in this episode doesn't come from her babies dying. It comes from Joe realizing she may never stop watching them like something terrible is about to happen. That fear becomes painfully clear when Joe befriends another NICU mom. At first, it feels like a rare moment of peace. Two women bonding over exhaustion, fear, and the strange quiet of a neonatal unit. It's one of those Grey's Anatomy moments that feels soft, almost hopeful, and then everything shatters. The woman starts seizing, and in that instant, Joe Wilson stops being a patient. She stops being a mother who just survived trauma. She becomes a surgeon again, sharp, focused, and absolutely certain something is wrong. She knows this woman is being misdiagnosed. She knows time matters. She knows exactly what she would do if she were allowed to step in. But she's not allowed, and that's where the emotional gut punch lands. Because Joe is right, and it doesn't matter. Rules are rules. She can't access the charts. She can't override the attending. She can't save her. And watching Joe spiral in that moment, watching her realize that knowledge doesn't equal power when you're on the other side of the bed, is one of the most quietly devastating scenes Grey's has done in a long time. This isn't about Joe being dramatic. This is about control being ripped away from someone who has survived abuse, abandonment, loss, and now a near-fatal pregnancy. The NICU isn't just a hospital wing. It's a trigger. It's proof that no matter how strong she is, she can still lose everything. Link sees that, and in one of the most emotionally grounded moments of the episode, he talks her down. Not as a surgeon, not as a fixer, but as her partner. He reminds her that she doesn't have to solve everything, that surviving is enough, that loving Peyton and Hattie is enough. But even then, the episode makes one thing very clear. Joe is ready to move on, and she doesn't know how. That's the real twist. The babies are stable. The crisis passed. But Joe isn't healed. Grey's Anatomy doesn't give us a clean ending here because trauma doesn't work like that. Meanwhile, the episode mirrors Joe's lack of control through another storyline that quietly reinforces the theme, Jules. Jules starts the hour already drowning, professionally stuck, emotionally exhausted. And then she overhears Link telling Winston that Joe would be perfectly happy if Winston and Iris became a thing. And that hurts more than Jules wants to admit. Because Jules isn't aloof, she isn't detached, she's guarded. Her patient, an older woman who develops a blood clot during role play with her husband, ends up teaching Jules more than any attending could. The message is simple but powerful. Life doesn't stop because you're scared. Desire doesn't disappear just because you've been hurt. Winston finally says the thing Jules needs to hear. He tells her she's not cold. She's careful. That she protects herself because she cares. And for one fleeting moment, it feels like Jules is about to finally be honest. And then Iris walks in. That interruption matters, because Grey's isn't slamming the door on Jules and Winston. It's putting up a stop sign. As Quan later tells her, Iris isn't a roadblock, she's a pause. A moment to decide if Jules is ready to fight for what she wants, or let herself want something else entirely. The episode ends with Jules alone at Joe's, nursing a drink, clearly lost, until a handsome stranger introduces himself. And for the first time all episode, Jules smiles. She introduces herself as Sally, borrowing confidence from her patient, from the idea that sometimes you try on a different version of yourself just to see how it feels. It's not closure, it's possibility. And that's the tone of this entire episode. Unresolved, uncomfortable, but honest. Richard Weber's storyline reinforces that beautifully. Catherine once again oversteps, flying in Dr. Laura Kaplan for a second opinion on his prostate cancer. At first, it feels like the same old pattern. Catherine controlling, Richard resisting, But this time, something shifts. Laura shares her experience living and practicing medicine with MS. She doesn't minimize the fear. She doesn't sugarcoat the risks. She simply proves that illness doesn't erase purpose.